I just want to make a quick disclaimer that in the video, there were a lot of times where I said that the dungeon's quote unquote easy or not difficult. And I just want to clarify that when I was saying that, I mean that the mechanics actually aren't that difficult or hard to follow once you're able to recognize them. But there isn't necessarily a whole lot to memorize. So that's what I meant right now, especially like from what I understand, the first boss has a lot of hit points and the damage dealt is a little bit hard. But when I'm saying easy in the video, I just mean the mechanics overall are not overly advanced or overly difficult. So don't come after me for that. Don't come after me. Anyways, enjoy. Okay, guys, what's up? So we're going to talk a little bit about the Vault of Stars, some healing tips, because during early access and on preview, I was running the dungeon actually as a cleric and not a rogue. Shocking, I know. So I'm going to give you some healing tips, things to look out for on your first time in the Vault of Stars, and overall just a basic breakdown of the main mechanics that you need to know when running it, and hopefully lots of people will find this useful, because I know there's a lot of confusion out there because it's pretty mechanic heavy. So yeah, for starters, we start off in this area and basically you just fight mobs. Actually, the first few areas you fight mobs. Main things to look out for and watch for when you're fighting the mobs as a cleric: just use Healing Word. You can buff it with Exaltation and also Blessing of Light before you use it, and just keep using Healing Word every 20 seconds and your team will stay alive, no problem. If your tank happens to get low on health, toss in that intercession and you're good, trust me. So we're not even going to go over the first few mob areas, just the main important parts. So let's skip to the next part of the dungeon that is probably key to know. Okay, so next part is the first boss. Main things to note are basically these red circles and these arrows. When you get them, take them to the edge of the map. The reason I say this is because, as you'll see here, basically they spawn these little mushroom patch things, but these things debuff. I think they do a damage over time, and overall they kind of just hurt. So you really just want to stay out of these. Don't go in them because they're kind of bothersome. If we go forward a little bit here, you'll see everyone takes them outside so that you can still combat in the middle the best you can and try and keep them out. Now, the next thing that you need to note at this boss are the green lines and the red lines. Basically, the green line you want to intercept. Anyone can do it, but I guess usually maybe the tank does it or one of the DPS. I don't know who does it, but you as the healer, don't feel pressured to do it unless there's nobody else doing it, but intercept it because it's important. Then after that, sometimes even before, there is a red line or beam, whatever this is. And basically, you want it to line up with one of the corpse flowers. Again, anyone, I guess, can do it, but as a healer, my tip, just stay out of everybody's way. Let the DPS do their job, let the tank do their job. You just focus on everyone's health bars and buff bars and keep everyone alive. Now, the main issue with this boss is basically, there's going to be a lot of debuffs, a lot of damage over times. And probably you're going to want to add in Cleansing Light in your rotation just to help combat those debuffs. And overall, they're going to make you feel a lot better and your group feel a lot better. And it's probably good to have Cleansing Light. You can do it without Cleansing Light, but especially if your group is new to the dungeon, not overly familiar and experienced with the mechanics, well, it's probably better to, use Cleansing Light. So that would be my recommendation just on this boss. The other two bosses and other sections of the dungeon, you don't need Cleansing Light, but here, Cleansing Light will make quite a difference. So use Cleansing Light, use Healing Word, use Intercession, and of course Blessing of Light before every single encounter, just to get that extra % of damage. Or not damage, healing. I'm used to playing a rogue, what can I say? So anyways, there's a time lapse too of the first boss, just so you can kind of get an idea of what it'll look like. And yeah, so hopefully that clears it. There's not a whole lot to the first boss, honestly. It just goes by really quick, so it feels like there's a lot going on, but as a healer, just worry about your team. Your team will worry about the mechanics. So let's move on to the next part. Okay, so this part actually isn't so bad. For the purpose of this video, I've actually disabled the dark fog outside of here, just so that we can better see our characters without being stuck in darkness. And basically, the idea is in this part of the dungeon to follow the light. So you can see the light here, and basically, normally in the dark, you would see more of a light. There we go. They're all connected to Lumi. And Lumi is the light that you follow throughout the dungeon. Basically, Lumi guides you or shows you the way. And you'll be kind of connected to Lumi and whatnot, but generally you have to kind of stay in the vicinity of the light. So that's the goal. Like I said, for the purposes of the demo though, just for ease of showing, I did disable that. So you kind of see you're going through the forest and whatnot, and you're going to go through different phases and whatnot, but stay in the light and you're good. Healing is really easy here. Just stick to the usual setup like you used in the beginning with just the mobs. And yeah, you'll be golden. So yeah. We can probably do a bit of a time lapse here. Let's see. Just for ease of concept. So yeah, just making your way through the forest. Again, I did disable the black darkness for the sake of showing off how this works, but there you go. Follow the light, and the light will lead you home, basically. So yeah, pretty simple, pretty straightforward. You shouldn't have any problems with this. Honestly, it's a very simple mechanic as long as you follow it. Don't rush through it because you'll just die. And yeah, that will lead you all the way to the next part of the dungeon, the second boss, Prince of Frost. So let's load it up, shall we? Okay, so now we're at the Prince of Frost, which is the second boss. He seems overwhelming maybe at first, but honestly, the mechanics are pretty easy to understand and pretty straightforward, so I don't think people will have problems with it. First part, this, when it goes all red and there's just a little circle in the middle, everyone needs to stack. That means you all need to get in the circle, go around the player, and absorb some of the damage, I guess, that is being done to the targeted player. And through that, you stay alive. Everyone stays alive, thankfully. So when you see that, stack. And it's going to happen a lot, so keep your eyes peeled. I mean, with the red, it shouldn't be a problem. Now, the next part is when you get this circle around you and just a single double arrow above you. You need to drag it to the edge. You're going to get stuck in ice. That's fine, expect it. But it's also going to put an area of effect on the ground. And you don't want that in the middle of all your other combat. So it is better to bring it to the edge, wait for someone to break out. In this case, Nova is going to break Hastur out. I think it's Hastur. And there we go. Hastur's good to go. But it does leave this on the ground. So don't step in that. Keep it on the edge. Again, stacking, important. And there is another one. So again, Nova's going to bring it out to the edge. Oh wait, that's not Nova. That is Harper. So Harper brings it to the edge. Nova's breaking him out. And then Harper's good. Always make sure to break out your teammates. Next, okay, stacking again. There's a lot of stacking in this, so try and somewhat stick close to each other. Now this is the part I was looking for. this is the same concept as with the arrows. I don't think this one shows arrows. No, no arrows above your head. But when everyone has those red circles, everyone goes to the edge. You're not going to get encased in ice, but it is going to leave an area of effect on the ground. So again, you don't really want that in your area of combat, because if other people get stuck in your circle when it's cast, then more than one person will get stuck in ice. Well, that's for the one stack. For this stack, you just don't want the debuffs, because nobody wants debuffs, right? But on the main circle, I think I forgot to mention that earlier. Yeah, if someone else stands in your red circle when it's cast, then you both get iced. And if your whole team gets iced, then it's an automatic wipe. You just die. So not much you can do. Now, there's also this attack, which, slow it down as much as we can here. Basically, it goes into two sides, but the middle part is free. So honestly, you can either dodge forward or back or in, wherever, but stay out of the red because it does hurt. So yeah, lots of dodging. So yeah, and as a cleric, just keep up on top of your team. Honestly, as long as your team's dodging, you shouldn't have to focus too much on anyone except the tank, honestly, because the tank will be taking most of the damage and there's no mobs on this phase, so it should be all good. But just keep an eye out, because you never know. There are points where your team does or can take a lot of damage, particularly when they're stacking. So yeah, just keep an eye out. But honestly, the boss itself isn't too difficult. There's a triple way attack, but again, just avoid the reds. Be prepared for them. Let's time-lapse this a little bit so you can get a better idea. Better idea of what to expect here. So yeah, all in all, the second boss isn't that bad. Actually, this dungeon, I know a lot of people are saying it's hard, but it's not as hard as most are thinking, so it's all good. Now, from here, we can go on to the maze, which the maze is kind of, I don't want to say it's a highlight, but the maze is pretty crazy, so let's check it out. So next up is the maze, and the maze isn't as bad as probably everyone thinks. It's actually quite fun. If we go like this for a sec, this is kind of the maze overview. Yeah, I can't see it because of the darkness here, but generally it's like that. So go back down, and yeah, so basically, is Lumi here? Yeah, Lumi's here. So let's slow that down for a sec. This light here is the same light we saw in the phase before the second boss. I think it was before the second boss. Or was it after the second boss? Is that the phase no, it was before. It was before the second boss, yeah. When you have to go through the forest and you follow the light of Lumi. And basically, Lumi's also going to guide you, in a sense, through the maze. Lumi will turn yellow when you're at the right portal in the maze, or the right gate or door, whatever you want to call it, leading to the next part of the maze that you want to enter. But if it's the wrong one, Lumi will remain to be the color red. Because right now we're at the right portal, which currently is the only portal, Lumi's yellow. But as we enter, Lumi will turn red, because we're not at the portal. We have to defeat the enemies before the so-called portals will open up. So see? Lumi's red, and Lumi's just waiting for us to finish combat. And basically just kill everything. I mean, there's nothing specific to it. Your teammates will do all the heavy work. You just keep them alive, but they may or may not take a lot of damage depending how many enemies they take on. Personally, I would recommend not to take on too many enemies, but you are on a time gate, so don't take too long either. Try and find a balance that works for your team's strength and tanking capabilities, DPS capabilities, and just go through the fastest you can without compromising the survivability of your team, if that makes sense. So the mobs are kind of lengthy, but let's slow that down there. So again, this is actually the portal here. It's kind of hard to tell, but it is. Lumi's now disappeared because Lumi's going to guide us the rest of the way through. So we'll see here, everyone starts to disappear. And seems some of us are here. And again, Lumi's over here, Lumi's red, and Lumi's gonna follow one of the players. And as you move and try different gates, when Lumi turns yellow, you'll be at the right gate. So you can see here, we're going, Lumi's still red. So we're actually going to find another gate, I think. And we're just going through that one actually. So let's slow that. Wait till Lumi disappears here. Oh, never mind. Okay, so we actually ended up over here. And Lumi's there. Let's go fast forward. And you'll see now, well, it's hard to tell with the lion, but Lumi here has turned yellow because now we're at the right portal here. Again, it's hard to see the portals, but in the game, you'll see that they're something you can interact with. So yeah, and honestly, you're going to do the same 3 times until, let's see if I can, it's getting dark. So this is the final area, and if we just really fast forward this until, oh, I see Lumi there. Okay, so this is the last one. Unfortunately, in this demo, we kind of did wipe. So you're gonna see it's already quite dark. So when your, I guess you say your camera on your character starts to turn dark, that does mean gradually you're losing more and more time and the darkness is creeping in. And if the darkness consumes you or reaches you because you were too slow, then you die and you have to start back at the beginning of the maze. Not the beginning of the dungeon, but the beginning of the maze. So we'll see here in this prime example of a demo. We were so close to it. It was so disappointing that we died, but we did. So anyways, this will eventually turn black and you'll see how it goes black and then to empty because obviously we had to respawn. Let's time lapse it and we're black. And then everyone's dead. And yep, so you wipe. So don't be us and do it properly. Now the good news is once you complete the maze, you have now entered where the final boss is. So we can jump forward to that now. Cool, so we made it to the final boss, actually. And basically the final boss comes in a set of three golems. And this is actually from the Vault of Stars video that I did, so we'll just let the cam path kind of play through a bit here, because I thought it was a pretty cam path. But anyways, yeah, we've got this big cosmic golem, and he's just gonna throw us up here, and we'll stop the cam path up here. So basically, what you need to do with the golem is to put him in the right area. Now, when I say right area, if we slow this down here, we have black holes and we have lights. And depending on how the golem is glowing, the tank needs to pull him into either of the lights. So honestly, as a healer, you don't have much to worry about in that sense, because the tank, basically this all relies on the tank. The tank has it rough in this dungeon, but it's okay. So the light does move and you kind of have to keep the golem in that area, avoid the red spots. When it comes time to stack, you do need to stack. So let's try and find a point where we have to stack again. Okay, see? So Nova here has the arrow. We play it, yeah, like that. So he has the arrow. Everyone's kind of coming in around him to help absorb some of the damage, because if only Nova takes the hit, then Nova's dead. So we don't want Nova dead. And after that attack, it is a pretty heavy attack. So something you will notice is after that AoE attack, then use healing word right away. I found that helpful. At this point, after each golem, when you kill it, you need to stand in the light until the next golem appears. And yeah, just get your team back up to good health. Cleansing light won't do anything here, so don't even bother adding it. It doesn't work with these debuffs. So yeah. Now on the second boss, the black hole thing on the ground here, it does move and it does kind of chase you. So just be aware of that. If you get debuffed from it, if you stand in the light, it does remove those debuffs from the black hole, if I remember correctly, but don't hold me to it. And yeah, so I'm trying to see if I can get that arrow again, because I want to show. Okay, see? So here, Haster has it, and I'm gonna get hit, and then, let's see, I used the Blessing of Light, and then I should be using, okay, maybe I didn't use Healing Word at this point, or did I? It's hard to tell in slow motion. Oh, there it goes. Healing Word. It's just because I'm playing it so slow. It looks like it took longer than it did. But anyways, yeah, so stack. Avoid the red. It's okay. Yeah, honestly, the final boss's mechanics aren't too hard. The hard ones are the first boss and maybe the second boss because it goes by so quick. But it's alright. So let's zoom through this here and make our way to the third boss. So again, gotta stand in the light after you kill the golem. And there we go. Now, something different on the third boss is now we have a black hole. And you don't want to mess with that black hole because it's gonna deal some damage over time. And I think there's other debuffs that come along with it, but just avoid it. But it does literally pull you in. You can see my cleric is being pulled in, and you might have to dodge to get away from it. Highly recommended. But yeah, and it will spawn pretty much anywhere in the map at any point. So just be careful of it, be wary of it, and play smart. So let's time lapse it. And honestly, the dungeon overall, it isn't that difficult. It isn't that bad. It's just, it goes by quick that it's hard to keep up with the mechanics, but once you know what to look for, it's all good. And healers have the easiest job. So yeah, thanks for watching. If you have other tips that you want to give, leave them in the comments and I can pin them all at the top because you can do that on YouTube. So yeah, ciao for now.